Welcome to today's Eploy Partner webinar on Breaking Barriers, Inclusive Hiring for All, where we will be discussing ways in which Recite Me's accessibility toolbar can transform the online experience for candidates and ultimately allow for a more diverse talent pool. I'm Pete Marnock, I head up partnerships here at Eploy, and I'm delighted to be joined by Sammy, who is the partnerships manager representative at Recite Me, and also genuinely grateful for Jamie and Shola's time from Manchester City Council, who is a joint customer of ours, who will be sharing sort of first-hand experiences of their use of the Recite Me toolbar. So Manchester is a vibrant multicultural city, and Manchester City Council is committed to ensuring this diversity is reflected across its workforce. Recite Me is used on Manchester's career site to ensure it is inclusive and no one is knowingly disadvantaged throughout the recruitment process. So Eploy and Recite Me are used across the council to manage the full recruitment cycle and onboarding. Before we get started, we will be taking questions at the end. So if there's anything specific you would like to know, please use the Q&A button in Teams and we'll pick that up accordingly. Likewise, this recording will be made available after the event. Just a little bit more about our partnership with Recite Me. We've been working together for over 3.5 years now. It is, as it says there, a cloud-based web accessibility toolbar, and ultimately it's about sort of driving that access for individuals to ensure that that individual experience is tailored for their needs. That can include things like speech functionality, styling, translations in over 100 languages, etc. And what Sammy's going to do as part of her session is walk you through that and show you that firsthand. Just a few examples here and demonstrating the different mediums in which you can sort of use the toolbar. This is just a few examples of screen grabs as to how it can appear in some of our shared customers' sites. So that's just a little bit of background and a little bit of framing of the situation. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand over to Sammy just to walk through the solution in more detail. So over to you. Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for having me here today. I can see some comments on the chat. People can't hear us. Is that all right? Everybody can hear us, okay? I'm just looking at chat. They can see Peter talking, but can't hear anything. Has the issue resolved? Oh, you can hear. Fabulous. Excellent. Okie doke. Let me share my screen. I am not used to Teams, but bear with us. Right, Peter, can you let me know if I am sharing the slide?
You are indeed.
Hang on. Slideshow. There you go. Excellent. Fabulous. So my name is Sammy Hobson. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. And I am the partnerships manager at Recite Me. So before diving into my agenda slide, which is the next one, I would like to mention a word, ED and I. I'm sure a lot of people already know this. In case you're not you're new to this accessibility journey, ED and I stands for equity, diversity, and inclusion. Some people say E stands for equality. However, at Recite Me, we use equity rather than equality. So what's the difference, right? The equality is when everybody is treated the same, while equity is when resources and opportunities are allocated based on the need of individuals to reach the equal outcome. Anyway, so there's some images, graphics on the internet to explain the difference between the two, but please Google them after the webinar. Okay, so my session today will evolve and revolve around equity, diversity, and inclusion, and how organization and HR professional can incorporate the concept into candidate journeys. So in the agenda slides, there we go. Who needs help online? And I'm going to do a whistle stop, like a quick demo on the Recite Me Assistive toolbar and show what it looks like and the success story of our client and lovely Manchester City Council and how they're actually utilizing and adopt the toolbar into their ED&I and accessibility initiatives, followed by Q&A. Okay, so I believe many of the Eploy network people have seen this insightful UK candidate attraction report 2024, which Eploy team published earlier this year. So there was a question for the HR professionals. So what are the biggest candidate sourcing challenges? So number one was candidate scarcity. It's really, really still challenging, right? Number two was 34% of the respondents put building a diverse and inclusive workforce. So if you put these two together, the candidate scarcity and trying to recruit and then attract diverse talent, it sounds like the HR professionals are facing a steep hill to get over. It is really, really challenging. So to kind of support this, there was an ED&I report published by Eploy's partner, the Talent Lab. I think they are formally known as the firm. They asked their members which of the following areas are the focus in order of priority. This is the result. So ethnicity and genders are the top two. I think this seems to be the quite standard response from the HR professionals in the last 3 to 4 years from what I've seen. But then is this really the true reflection of what candidates are looking? So I found another survey which asked people from the other side, which is the candidate or the possible candidate. Question was, imagine you're applying for a new job or promotion at work. Which item would you feel and give you less chance at getting the job than someone else? The result is quite astonishing. Remember the ethnicity and gender? These two things are at the quite the bottom of the respondents' answers. The top one is age, and followed by personal appearance and disability and learning needs. So it clearly shows some gaps between the hiring manager and the candidates. So there's an example. I was talking to one of my contacts who is organizing a ED&I conference, and I was kind of trying to recommend my colleague who is white, male. He is dyslexic, and he was the right candidate or right person to do the talk. But the lady had this sheet saying, "Oh, we have this requirement, preferably the presenter to be non-white, the colored, and also a female." And that call was really, really awkward. Put me and my colleague in a really awkward situation. And you know, I might tick the boxes, but I wasn't the right person to do the job. So to me, things have moved quickly. So ED&I focus used to be potentially the gender and then the race, but things are changing rapidly, especially in the last year or two. So I believe this is time to widen the ED&I lens and think about these candidates. They're really worried about what they look like. They might have some conditions or struggles, but then quite often they don't raise hands and say, "I need help." So that's where we kind of come in. So next slide is about who needs support online. Just in general, right? Just navigating the website, internet, or even going through a job search. And then I actually Googled, like, what's the world population today? 8.2 billion. So over 1 billion people, which is like 12% of the population, have sort of form of disability according to WHO. And astonishingly, 2.2 billion people have some sort of visual impairment. So it's not just about can't really see or like a blindness, but it also covers like age-related illnesses and conditions like cataract, a glaucoma, a diabetic retinopathy. I'm sorry, I'm not a medical person, so I guess you heard some people with diabetic condition does have an impact on their visuals, and sight, and also vitamin A deficiency and lack of glasses and low vision aids. So it shows almost a quarter of people have sort of disability or conditions, really, really putting them into a difficult situation to navigate through the digital world. And also, it's just like when it comes to not just the visual impairment, I think the neurodiversity, so the conditions such as autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, so that kind of condition, so the brain kind of functions slightly differently. We're talking about like 20% of the population have some sort of a neurodiversity conditions, and on top, 8% of the UK population don't speak English or Welsh as a first language, myself included. So if you put these conditions and population together, we are talking at least 30-40% of the people or population have to go through and in these challenging situation, not just looking for a job, but day-to-day basis. Okay, so when you think about the candidates, they might have a neurodiverse condition. It's sometimes quite often more than one, maybe a dyslexia with autism or whatever that is. These people have to go through these hoops, looking for a job, attraction stage, and apply for a job, form filling, and they might be going through the interviews and the onboarding, and then just go through the whole retention stage. And they just have to face a lot of challenges. One of my contacts, a young lady who has a very high IQ, right, apparently Oxford University level, has been struggling with her conditions, which are dyslexia and autism. So going through the stage, job descriptions, just looking for a job, or navigating through the career site. Never mind applying and filling the form. It is really, really challenging. And from like somebody, well, let's say myself, I can read and see things okay. I have a hearing impairment, but looking wise, no problem. I couldn't really see there are people who are actually having such a challenging time. But anyway, so this is what is all about. The Recite Me, like a tool such as ours can help these population to kind of navigate through those stages. And there's an interesting stat. The 69% of millennials and Gen Zers, Gen Zers, saying they would be much more likely to work for an employer for more than 5 years if it had a diverse workforce. So it's not about just attracting the candidates or diverse talents, and having that diverse and inclusive work environment is actually it contributes to a higher retention and attracting a different gender, the generations. Surprisingly, I saw a stats the other day: 27% of workforce are Gen Zs. I am the Gen X, I think, and makes me feel really, really old. But anyway, so the generations and workforce is changing. So I think it's time for organizations and HR professionals to think slightly differently and widening that ED9 lens when it comes to recruitment. All right, so let me dive into a quick demo. Hopefully this works. There you go. Sorry, I'm going to use Manchester City Council's career site. Pete, sorry, I'm going to ask you again. Can you see the Manchester City Council's career site?
We can indeed. Thank you.
Fabulous. Okay, so Recite Me. Let's say, there you go. So I think the Pete's slide, they had a different graphics. Some website has like universal accessibility man icon, the human, the guy in a circle. Sometimes in this case, accessibility tools sometimes have accessibility how do you call it? It's just the assistive toolbar. Sometimes they have the line. It almost blended into this wonderful page. So it's sort of, you can find it here. So when you click, so unless, sorry, I'm just looking at the font is slightly different. Going back, sorry, I was just playing around earlier. So the toolbar, when you click the open the launch button, it opens at the top and push the contents beneath down slightly. So unlike some other tools you might have seen elsewhere, the toolbar, or the we call overlay, opens up in the right in the middle of the page or third of the page and kind of covering the contents, which is not really helpful. Whereas the Recite Me toolbar kind of open at the top only if a user clicks the launch button. If they don't need it, that's fine. People can just navigate the site as they are. But if somebody feels the need to use some sort of tools, and that's how and where it sits. So I'm not going to go through the whole range, because you feel free to visit our website or Manchester City's council's website, and then just, it's pretty much what you see is what you get. It is really self-explanatory, but I'm going to just highlight some of the key features. For example, the screen reader, so text to speech, is one of the most popular feature we see. And so what happens is, I hope the audio is also shared. So when somebody shares clicks and hover over a text, there you go. So it actually reads out the text out loud. I hope the sound is also being shared. If not, my apologies. So what it does is, you can actually let the page to read the whole thing. So if you're a visual impairment, but it's not just about the visual impaired people. My CEO, the reason why we're here is my CEO, our CEO is dyslexic, and he really, really find it difficult to read a website. So what he tend to do is get this kind of audio file. So we let the Recite Me toolbar to read the whole site. So he actually kind of consume the information better kind of by hearing rather than reading. And so it's not just about the, people can't read or see. It kind of helps people with dyslexic condition to consume the information that way. And while we are just here, let me just use the translation feature. Like Pete said, there are over 100, or actually 135 different languages. You can actually look down, you can search by specific language. Let's go for Japanese, because I do speak Japanese. A click of a button, the whole website or web page changed into a Japanese text, like as you can see. And if these languages have this speaker icon next to it, you can actually let the system to read the text like we did in English. But I'm not going to play it in Japanese because it's a bit unfair. So I'm going to just put it back to English again. The default, here we are. Go back to English. So let's dive into a job. Let's go for neighborhoods. Right, there's a lots of 5 jobs. You can actually look into more info. I'm going to just open that thing up. So this is where things get interesting. The color contrast, I quite like, the light gray background is the dark text. Easy for me to read. Great. But lots of text. Some people do find this a nightmare. It's just like too much. And then people quite often just like, no, I'm just going to close the browser, do something else. And that's the people who you might want to tap into. So this is what happens. So if you're a condition, or if you just find this is a bit too much to handle, there is a color contrast change option. There are 20 default settings. I think if you may have seen yellow background with the black text. Some dyslexic conditioned people find this easier to read. To me, this is probably not the right one. Again, some people with dyslexic condition, maybe 2 people, these 2 might not find these settings suitable, because even though I'm using the same diagnostic name, some people find it different settings more suitable. For example, we have a client, sorry, the colleague from the sales team. He actually prefers blue background. Okay. We have another engineer from dev team. He actually prefer pale pink background. Ross, our CEO, he prefers a yellow background. They all have dyslexia, but doesn't necessarily mean one size fits all, because they have different needs individually. So by these contrasting options gives people, the option to navigate through the page, easier to read and digest. And the beauty of it is you can actually even change the font. So this is the default, obviously, and I think Comic Sans apparently one of the easiest font you can actually read. Still, in my 40s, my eyesight is getting a little bit tricky. Then you can actually increase the character spacing. Now I can actually start reading, and like, this is a bit better. Or line height, you can change it to make it a little bit better. Anyway, I'm just going to go back. Or open dyslexic. To me, this is a little bit of nightmarish font, but if you have certain conditions, this characters with weight on the bottom, it makes it easier for their brain to digest the information much better, apparently. Again, we're just laying out the tool out there for individual needs. We're not telling them what to do or which tools to use, because individual needs are different. Okay, I'm going to go back to the default, and also the color contrast back to default. Now here we are back to square one. We also introduced this focus text. This is maybe not the easy to spot. You can see the Manchester, the word, the first character, M, it's bold, like really, really big, and then eventually just getting a bit smaller and smaller. Again, apparently it helps readers to digest the content better. Again, it's another option people can utilize. In a click of a button, you can go back. Another thing I think I want to highlight is the screen mask. This is ideal for job description. If somebody with, let's say, sensory sensitive condition, seeing these texts can be a little bit scary and overwhelming, and just to kind of hiding all the noise, and then just show just a little bit band of the page and help them to kind of consume a little information at a time, so it's not overload their brain too much. So again, this is an option. You can actually click on and off, or the screen ruler. It might be better if some people have conditions that you can't really tell where the line ends and where the line starts. Again, you can just use whichever the tools helps. And last but not least, magnifying glass. Like I said, I started needing a reading glass, and then I tried to use the accessibility function on iPhone, but it wasn't the bestest experience. I struggled. Was having such as the magnifying glass like this, it actually helps. For some people, especially certain age and above, to see like specific things, especially the website, or a form has some charts or stats or small data, and this can be a really, really useful tool. Anyway, so that's about 25 minutes past. So I shall just move back to the slides, unless anybody has any questions. If it just, I'll be happy to chat over on the screen. Sorry, the toolbar. Anyway,
Sammy, just for a second,
yeah.
just because it's an appropriate point, just one
Yep.
question.
Of
Just
course.
confirmation that the toolbar will work on mobile devices, please.
Yes, of course, that's a good question. Yes, it's a responsible design, meaning it will work on the desktop, tablet, iPad, mobile phone. So as you can see, there's lots of features at the top. on a mobile phone, it's difficult to show all of the tools. What happens is it shows the first like the screen text to speech features, and then it kind of becomes dot 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 with the small text says more, so people can open the feature and use the tool just like I showed you on this PC. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope that answers the question. Okay, so let's just go back to the slideshow. Okay, so before I just hand this over to Jamie from Manchester City Council, I just wanted to highlight how they have been utilizing the toolbar on the carrier's site. I just pulled the last 12 months, well, October to September data. The the stats, it shows actually an amazing number. The 56,000, well, almost 57,000 pages viewed, nearly over 6,000 unique users using the tool or toolbar to navigate the carrier's site. And we always said 2.8 pages using the kind of toolbar to navigate the page is kind of, yeah, it's a kind of average. It shows almost 9 pages. The viewers and visitors are utilizing the toolbar to go through that candidate journey, which is amazing. And our stats actually shows the breakdown of the use of the different features. So the screen readers, like I said, it's most used, but also shows the breakdown of the translations, the languages. So Armenian and Ukrainian, they're the two top languages. I think it's kind of correlates with the recent immigration numbers, the massive immigrants coming from Armenia and Ukraine, sorry, and I think that reflected in these numbers. And lastly, like he, as per Pete's question, it shows the majority of the viewers are using the tool on a mobile device. Only quarter of the viewers using on the desktop. So our stats to do this breakdown. So from your hiring manager's perspective, it's kind of, you can actually compare the overall stats, and you can work out how many or how much of these users or visitors and applicants are using the tools, and work out that way. Before I move on to the next item, I just want to quickly show you another set of stats. So this is the stats, not the carrier site, but the Manchester City Council's intranet. So it shows a very different pictures. Page views is much more, but look at the unique users. There's only 200, right? So it looks like, so people who got hired at this Manchester City Council, so these specific group of people utilizing the tool on their intranet to navigate through. So it kind of shows almost 50 pages, meaning they're just using the tool constantly to view and do their work. So again, this is something I want to highlight. We talk about ROI, return on investment. Yeah, just having the toolbar is great. The more, the better. Is it? This is a question I would sometimes ask. Think about the audience and think of the platform. Candidates and career sites, yes, the bigger numbers are better, possibly. But here, think about the candidate journey. Once they get hired and then go through the actual doing the job part, the internet, we might not be capturing and providing the support to everyone, but then we're providing the tools for the right people to do the job. And I think this stats highlight that. And I'm really, really pleased to see this. And thank you so much for letting me share this. And yeah, I think it's really, really showcase the importance of providing the tool to the right people at the right time. Okay, so before I just hand over to Jamie, I would like to just do some resource links. So there are QR codes for these three of the main resources. Please feel free to take the the QR code mobile thing, and it should take you to the download page, but you might have to type in your details. But some of these toolkits and then tools and the resources are really, really, really useful. And I also want to highlight one resource. Eploy team has recently published. It was our guest blog post on how to attract diverse talent, 6 key strategies for success. So that document itself is really, really insightful. And I'm going to quote from that document for my conclusion. So diversity isn't limited to visible factors like ethnicity, age, and gender. Rather, it extends beyond those parameters to include disability, religion, and much more. So by taking a holistic approach and considering the varied factors to make up diverse talent, it becomes much easier to attract a broader pool of candidates and create an environment where everyone can thrive. So I think this is a really great opportunity to hand over to Jamie, who's going to give an overview of Manchester City Council and how they have just successfully incorporated the ED9 and accessibility initiative into their operations. Um, Part of it is adopting the Recite Me toolbar. So with that, I shall stop sharing my screen. Just bear with me. Stop sharing. Here we are. Okay. So this is where I can hand over to you, Jamie.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Sammy. So hi everyone. I'll try my best to cover what we've done. We've done a lot in Manchester City Council, to be fair. So my name's Jamie McGrath. I'm the head of service design in HR. I'm joined today by Shola Salami, who is our HR operations manager. She's responsible for our recruitment activity at the council. Before I go into anything, just because of service design, it's kind of a new thing for HR. It's used in other departments and things, but it's essentially process design, looking at end-to-end services such as I want to recruit, I want to book onto training, that kind of thing, end to end. And a real big part of that is making sure the users can achieve what they want to throughout that process. And a big part of that is really focused on accessibility and inclusion. So a bit about Manchester, really. Manchester is a massively diverse city. I'm very proud to be part of it. Really rich history in terms of what we've done for diversity and inclusion. We actually speak over 200 languages in Manchester, which is one of the highest in the world. And over 22% of our population have a disability. So we have a very, very diverse city. So it's not inclusion's not just something we talk about at Manchester City Council. We do a lot of work actively to make sure we are as diverse and inclusive as possible. We're a disability confident leader, which means that we're committed to removing barriers that might stop people from applying or working with us. And not only that, but in 2021, we relaunched our workforce equality strategy, which we did win some awards for, which I'm quite proud of. Overall, though, what we tried to do with that strategy is aim on 2 key areas. One is that our workforce would reflect the diversity of our communities that we serve at all levels of seniority, not just entry-level roles, and to have a workplace where everyone can be themselves and thrive. And a specific strand of that strategy that we had was to attract, recruit, and select in a way that drives diversity at all levels. Because not only is it important that we obviously represent our city, but diversity is super important to achieving business outcomes, really. A diverse workforce has more perspectives, better decision making, more cultural awareness, and ultimately they can deliver better outcomes for our residents. I really recommend reading Rebel Ideas by Matthew Said if you want to know more about cognitive diversity. Really good book. So following that, the launch of our strategy, we procured the new ATS system. So we started procurement in 2022. I think we launched January 23 alongside, and with that launch, we brought in Recite Me as well as a tool. We From that equality strategy meant that we didn't also need to hit that WCAG standard, which everyone's probably aware of. We also needed to make sure we were above and beyond, so making sure all of those accessibility tools that are in place and we didn't leave anyone behind. So we launched a strategy with a number of interventions and with the Recite Me tools, making sure that we've got basically the foundations in place. We can do all of the really high level fancy stuff around accessibility, diversity, inclusion, but you need the basics in place. You need those foundational things. And something like Recite Me is essentially a foundational a tool to have in place. So we're about to launch a new strategy for this year, 3 years on from that strategy, and just a bit of history really. So in 2021, we had 4.7% of our workforce who identified as disabled, and in 2024, that's 8.7% now. So we've nearly doubled. And when you look at the stats for roles that are above 50K, and what we said is around making sure that diversity at all levels, that representation is now 8.7%. Again, it's not close to the 22% of our city, but we've made a lot of progress in just such a short time. And we've also, similarly on those senior roles, staff above 50K, we've doubled the number of staff who identify as Black, Asian, or minority ethnic. So yeah, we're very passionate about doing all of this work, and I think the Recite Me tool has been very useful. I think overall, and I think you was mentioning it, Sammy, it's not just something from a service design point of view, getting that accessibility right in the first place, it does benefit the people who very much need it. But you know, if you get those accessibility tools in place, and some of you might have already experienced this with when accessibility has been put in place, it actually just benefits everyone. Color contrast is probably the easiest of this. You know, I can probably read yellow text on white background. It's a lot easier when the color contrast is right. So getting those just means that you get a better site overall for users, and it stops that visual strain when they're reading your site. So all of those little bits, and having text to speech in place, translations, again, look, I think 120 languages on Recite Me, close to our 200, and also what kind of adjustments to text size. And I think as well, just having those as tools. I mean, when I'm on the train, I actually use text to speech quite a lot just because it's a really busy train, and actually you can read out a massive job advert, just listen to it while you're looking at the scenery or whatever. So quite useful, really. I'm going to pass over to Shola now, just about, if that's okay, Shola, just about how it's been working in the team.
Hi everyone. Thanks Jamie and Sammy. So in terms of the tools, it's been proven to be very, very useful for all of our applicants, and it's reduced the number of queries or calls that we get on the team in terms of, oh, how can I use complete an application? Because you could see from the stats that Sammy has shared, it's helped us to attract and engage more applicants, and because they find it very easy to use on the system. And more importantly, it's opened us to attract more diverse range of applicants that we exactly want. That was what we set our targets to have. Since we started using the Recite Me tool, the number of applications that we have received has more than doubled, which just clearly shows that people are engaging with our websites, and you know, they're finding it more easy to use. So I can't overemphasize the importance of this Recite Me tool, how it has been really useful for us, and represents the kind of what we are trying to portray as an organization to attract more people in our organization. So basically, Jamie and said it all, and Sammy has said it all. It's really improved our processes, it's improved our recruitment, and that's it. I don't know what else to say, to be honest, but yeah. I'll pass you back to Sammy. I think that's
Well,
it.
thank you, Shola. Yeah.
Any question? Well, just lastly, if you've got any questions or thoughts around this, or you feel free to jump on our website to have a look. And if you've got any question, you can ask us. We're more than happy to support or answer your questions.
Feel free to apply for any jobs that we have as well.
Yeah.
Love it, Jamie. Yes, actually your website is really, really fantastic, and it's actually clear to see and easy to navigate. And yeah, but if you need the extra tools, there's the Recite Me toolbar. But thank you so much, Jamie and Shola, like talking through how impactful it has been, and your initiative sounds amazing and wonderful. And yes, it's been fascinating findings to actually hear from you, both of you. So thank you so much. So shall I pass this back to you, Peter, for if you have any questions? Oh, sorry, I haven't really looking on the Q&A or the chat function. So if you could pick them up and raise these questions, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just to echo that, Jamie Scholar, thank you so much for sharing firsthand. I think it's getting those practical examples, I think gives it real credence. So thank you so much. So just picking up on questions, the first one, Sammy, I apologise, there's going to be quite a few coming your way, so I apologise in advance. So the first one we've got is to do with the toolbar itself. Can it be used over other solutions, or is it just applicable to our careers website, please?
No, it can be adopted to any web-based platform, so not just the website or career site or ATS. It can be, we have partners in candidate like a screening, onboarding platforms, learning management system, or intranet in Manchester City Council's example. So as long as they are on any web-based platform, it is adaptable.
Brilliant, thank you. So another one here, a little bit hard to read, so apologies. I think it's saying, will Recite Me work on all pages within the application within Eploy, please?
Oh, that's a question back to you, Peter.
Yeah,